Distinguished guests, thank you very much for all of you for attending this. I don't want to go through this very lengthy, rhythm that essentially is more or less like that all of you are distinguished, beginning with the people on the high table and the rest of you. Thank you for attending this. It was long coming, very long coming. I played a role in the creation of all the refugee camps you have there. E41, E42, much later, Hagadera, Dagali. And from the very beginning, I had an intention of doing that integration. Refugees are an asset to any society. The most powerful economy in the country, the strongest country in the world today, the US, is a country of immigrants. And in the very same line, I had hoped by integrating the refugees from Somalia into the host community, which was hosting them in Kenya, and integrating them into the wider Kenyan society, the same also for the refugees from Sudan. It was going to add a lot of value to our own lives ourselves as Kenyans. The same way it has done in all the countries that are based on immigration, or basically founded on immigration largely. The US, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all those countries. It's taken a long time, but now we are there. And I want to thank the donor community that are there. I want to thank the UN. And without a formal integration policy in the country, the refugees and the Kenyans had integrated largely. And for those of you who don't remember the history of this country in the last 30 years, this country's business initially was dominated by a few immigrants from Indian subcontinent and a little bit of the British colonial, people who were left behind. When the Somali refugees came in here, Kenyans began seeing the rest of the world after the Somalis came in here. They're the ones who opened up all imports, exports, lots of areas, and added value to, you can see how Isli is today. It's probably one of the most powerful economic powerhouses anywhere in the African continent, in the sub-Saharan African continent. And that's largely because of the influence of the refugees who came in here, the immigrants who came in here. And I'm sure we will see a lot more in the future. We were hoping that the Somalis would go back in the shortest possible time. It's taken us 30 years now. We don't know how much longer it's going to take us. It might even take us as long as it has already taken us. I hope we are able to sort out their problem and they can go back, most of them, or go to other parts of or become part of the Kenyan society. When the Somalis came in here, in refugees from Somalia and Sudan, largely the Somalis, in 1991, we had a problem in this country. We did not have a relationship with the World Bank, with the IMF, and our currency had taken a free fall. But because the Somalis came in here and we were getting all these remittances that were coming from outside, the demand and supply concept within the currency market itself, our shilling started appreciating from 80 shillings to the dollar until it reached 40 shillings, and then the central government had to move in, because I was in parliament that time in 1992, 93, to move in to, basically take all the dollars from the market, so that the shilling, so that our own products, our own industries do not become less competitive in the region and other parts of the world. So effectively what I'm telling you is that there's a lot of benefits that are there. And my biggest recollection is that the very first refugees who came were the people who were in business in Somalia and Mogadishu. They were basically the elite, the scholars, the university graduates, the professors, the lecturers, and when you mix them up in a society at that time that could hardly produce 2 students in that whole region to go to universities in Kenya, it was a massive, transformation over a period of time. When you mix a society like that, there's a tendency that both sides gain a lot. We gave them shelter, we gave them security, we gave them the comfort, but they also brought in a lot of other benefits for us. I see that even improving much more because many of them have got their relatives also all over the world now. Many of them have come back as investors, as in the properties and other industries and other areas. So I do see a situation in which if you allow them now also to be integrated fully into the country through a lot of what you call development, socio-economic development, as well as we create the regulations. We already have the Act, the Refugee Act, but also create the regulations in Parliament. I'm going to work on that as much as we can. And hopefully, today we send from our region not less than 100,000 students in the public universities in this country. Professor Idle is an attestation of that because he's a former council chairman for University of Nairobi. You remember those early days, how tough it was and how much we have improved now. Anyway, overall, good plan. My only footnote is that long is gone when you would sit in New York or sit in any other, what do you call, first world city, or sit in Nairobi to decide for what's best for people down on the ground there. So when we're doing this integration right now, particularly societal integrations, let us do a lot of sitting with the people in the grassroots. Let that come in from the bottom up. I mean, I did not vote for the president of this country who came with the bottom up, what you call concept last time, but I do feel a lot of sense right now in areas like ours. So I think that bottom up thing, that inclusion, integration, involvement of those very, very people right at the bottom there makes a lot of difference. You get a lot more ideas that are sustainable, that are durable, that essentially are going to make changes in the lives of those people, as opposed to determining in this place, making up our own minds, using our own scholarly whatever and everything else and models of development and saying, okay, this is good for you and this is how we're going to implement it. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. There has to be an ownership always. And ownership comes from involvement, and ownership comes from being the people, the producers. That's why in this constitution, which we promulgated or that we worked on when I was the deputy speaker of the country that time and was one of the very critical cogs in that constitution itself, we have what we call public participation. Even in Parliament, if we do make enact a law without the public participation, it's going to be declared, it's been voided by the Supreme Court or the High Court itself and say it's unconstitutional. We have to go back to the people. So my point is that it's a good thing. Let's work on this together, and we're inviting all of you to assist us in the manner we can. We will do our bit ourselves in our own respective jurisdictions and mandates. The governor, my lady colleague there, who is the women rep for the whole county, and those of us. Senator is not here. Senator should have been here, but is also part of the team, and the many other members of parliament in our National Assembly. And we will also cooperate as much as we can with the donor community, which also I must congratulate them for not tiring up, because there's something called donor fatigue that normally happens when you can't get results. But let's hope we're going to have serious results in this and for the future, and I welcome you all. Thank you very much.